idea of trading is starting to become more realistic. At the first, it may have seemed unlikely that the Cowboys would consider moving a talented wide receiver George Pickens. However, as time passes without progress, the organization may begin to see the situation as more trouble than it is worth. In such case, teams often explore trade options to avoid long-term conflict and gain valuable assets in return. According to reports, if another team is willing to offer a strong draft pick and also commit to sign George Pickens to long-term contract, the Cowboys could consider accepting that offer. A second-round draft pick has been mentioned as a possible return value. In the today NFL market, where wide receivers are highly valued and frequently moved between teams, this type of deal would not be surprising. In fact, it would fit into the growing trends of the aggressive roster changes across the league. One team that has quickly emerged as a strong potential trade partner is New York Jets. The connection between Cowboys and the Jets is not random. It is based on both team needs and recent behavior. The New York Jets have been very active in making trades over the past year, showing a willingness to take risks in order to improve their roster. This aggressive approach makes them a logical candidate if Cowboys decide to move on from George Pickens. Another key voice in this conversation is Rich Chimini, who has closely followed Jets. He suggested that people should not ignore the possibility of the New York Jets making another move for a veteran player. He also highlighted the activity of the team general manager Darren Mugai, who has already completed multiple trades in a short period of time. This pattern shows that the New York Jets are not afraid to make a bold decision if they believe it would improve their chances of the success. Looking at the Jets roster, it becomes clear why adding a player like George Pickens would make sense. The team already has a strong wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, but beyond him, there is still a question about depth and consistency. Young players like Adonai Mitchell have potential, but they are not yet proven at highest level. For a team that is likely to bring in young quarterbacks in the near future, having a reliable and experienced wide receiver can make huge difference. They can help accelerate development and provide stability on the offense. Financially, the situation also works in favor of the New York Giants, as the team has enough flexibility to take on a new contract, which is important if they want to sign George Pickens to a long-term deal. In addition, they have enough draft capital to make competitive offer without damaging their future plans. This balance between the present needs and the future stability makes the New York Giants an ideal trade partner in this scenario. However, it is important to remember that nothing has been decided yet. The situation remains open, and there is still a chance that the Cowboys and George Pickens could reach an agreement. In professional sports, negotiation can change quickly, and what seems impossible one day can become reality the next. If both sides find common grounds, the entire trade discussion could disappear immediately. At the same time, the longer situation continues without solution, the more likely it becomes that trade will happen. Pressure will continue to build as season approaches, and both players and the team will need clarity. For the Cowboys, the decision will come down to whether they believe Pickens is worth of the investment or whether they are better off moving forward with different plan. For the fans, this situation is both exciting and stressful. On one hand, it creates the possibility of the major blockbuster trade that could reshape the multiple teams. In the other hands, it raised concern about losing a talented player who could be a key part of the team's future. This combination of the uncertainty and the opportunity is what makes the NFL offseason so interesting to follow. In the end, connection between Dallas Cowboys and New York Jets is one of the watch closely. If the contract situation with George Pickens does not improve, the path toward trade becomes clear. And with each passing today, the pieces are already in place, including team needs, financial flexibility, and mature interest in making bold moves. As the 2026 season gets closer, this story will continue to develop. Whether it ends with the new contract, dramatic holdout, or blockbuster trade, one thing is certain: the future of the George Pickens will have a significant impact on both teams involved. Plans, analysts, fans, insiders will be watching every update carefully, waiting to see how this situation finally something bold, something that could completely change the future of the team. The dream is the possibility of the trading for one of the most dominant defensive players in football today, Myles Garrett. For a long time, the idea of Myles Garrett joining the Dallas Cowboys felt unrealistic. It sounds like one of those conversations fans have just for fun without expecting it to actually happen. However, things have started to change very quickly. Reports, rumors, and insider opinion are now suggesting that this move might not be as impossible as it once seemed. What makes this situation even more interesting, in fact, that Dallas Cowboys are in a unique position compared to other teams in the league. They have something very valuable that many teams do not have right now. They have 2 first-round draft picks in 2026 NFL draft. Not just many picks, but both picks are within the top 20 selections. This gives them a level of flexibility and power that could allow them to make a very aggressive move. According to several reports, a possible trade scenario has already been discussed. In this scenario, the Dallas Cowboys would receive Myles Garrett, while the Cleveland Browns would receive 2 first-round picks, specifically the 12th overall picks and the 20th overall picks. This type of the offer is very serious and shows that Cowboys have the assets needed to start a real conversation. Normally, when a team tries to trade for a player of Myles Garrett caliber, they are required to give up not only draft picks but also a key player. However, in this case, there is a belief that Cowboys might not need to include a player in the deal. The reason for this is simple. 2 first-round picks, especially in the top 20, carry a lot of value. In the draft class, where many experts are unsure about the overall strength of the prospects, these picks become even more attractive. Another important factor is that not every team can make an offer like this. While some teams like the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets also have multiple first-round picks, there are doubts about Myles Garrett would be interesting in joining those teams. This gives the Dallas Cowboys an advantage as they remain one of the most attractive destinations in football league, NFL. If this trade were to happen, it would be a bold move. It would show that Cowboys are ready to go all in and compete at the highest level immediately. Myles Garrett is widely considered as one of the best defensive players in the entire league. His ability to lash the pass, disrupt offenses, and dominate games could instantly improve the Cowboys' defense. At the same time, the Cowboys are also exploring other options. There are growing reports that the team could be considering a move within the draft itself. Instead of staying at 12th position, they might attempt to trade up in order to select top-tier prospect. One name that has come up in this discussion is Sonny Styles, a linebacker from Ohio State. Sonny Styles has been gaining a lot of attention recently, especially after an impressive performance at National Football League Combine. His stock has risen significantly, and some projections now place him as high as second or third overall pick. Interestingly, Sonny Styles himself has confirmed that he is scheduled to meet with the Dallas Cowboys. This kind of the meeting is very important because it shows genuine interest from the team. It also suggests that the Cowboys are doing their homework and evaluating all possible options before making a final decision. The possibility of the trading up in draft is not something teams take lightly. It requires giving up valuable assets, and the risk can be high. However, if the Cowboys truly believe that Sonny Styles is a game-changing player, they might decide that the risk is worth it. While all this is happening, another storyline is quietly gaining momentum. This involves Caleb Downs, as we said, another talented player from the Ohio State. Early, it was widely believed that Caleb Downs would be selected within the top 10 picks without any question. However, recent updates suggest that he might fall lower than expected. This change in projection is largely due to low the safety position is valued in the National Football League. Despite being an important role, safeties are often not selected as early as other positions. Additionally, some concerns about Caleb Downs' physical size and playing style have been mentioned by the analyst. Even so, Caleb Downs remains an extremely talented player. If he does fall to 12 picks, the Dallas Cowboys could find themselves in a perfect position to select him. This would allow them to strengthen their secondary with a player who has the potential to become a star. Beyond trades and draft strategies, the Cowboys are also actively evaluating talent through pro days. Recently, the team had a strong presence in Texas Tech University Pro Day. This event is part of the final stage of the scouting process, where teams gather as much information as possible before the draft. The Cowboys leadership group, including head coach Brian Schottenheimer and several key staff members, attended the event. Their focus was clearly on defensive players, which highlights an important need for the team. Improving the defense appears to be a major priority heading into new season. Several defensive prospects stood out during the pro day, including David Bailey, Jacob Rodriguez, Romero Hayes, and Lee Hunter. These players have all shown strong potential and could become important additional for the NFL roster. Meeting between players and teams during these events are very important. They provide an opportunity for both sides to learn more about each other. For the Cowboys, these conversations help them to understand players' mindset, personalities, and readiness for the professional level. All of these developments show that the Cowboys are preparing for very important moments, whether it is making a blockbuster trade for Miles Garrett, trading up in draft for top prospect like Sonny Styles, or selecting a talented player like Caleb Downs. The team has many options. What makes this situation so exciting is the uncertainty. No one knows exactly what will happen the draft day. The Cowboys could make a safe or predictable choice, or they could surprise everyone with a bold and aggressive move. For the fans, this is a time of hope and anticipations. The idea of adding a superstar like Miles Galletti is thrilling. At the same time, the possibility of drafting a future star creates its own kind of excitement. At the end, everything will come down to the decision made by the Cowboys front office. The decision will shape the future of the team and determine whether they can return to being true contenders of the NFL. Until then, the rumors will continue, the discussion will grow louder, and the excitement will keep building. One thing's certain, the Dallas Cowboys are the center of it all, and the entire football world traveling across the country. They are visiting colleges, watching the players, and studying everything carefully. One of their recent stops was the University of Texas in Austin, a place known for producing talented football players. Before that, they also visited the University of Miami. These visits are part of what they called the Pro Day circuit. Pro Days are very important in football. This is when college players perform in front of the professional teams. Coaches and scouts watch how they learn, how they move, how they react, and how they behave. But for Coach Schottenheimer, it is not only about what happens on the field. He believes something more important is learning about personnel behind the player. When the Cowboys travel, they do not just watch football drills. They meet the players, they talk to them. They even take them out of the dinner. These moments are very important because they show what kind of the person the player really is. How do they act outside the football? What they motivates them? What are their goals? These are the questions the Cowboys want to answer to. Schottenheimer explained that understanding personality is just as important as understanding talent. A player may be fast, strong, but if they do not have right mindsets, they may not succeed at highest level. Another key thing the Cowboys watch during the pro days is how players compete. Are they leading? Are they focused? Are they full of energy? Do they listen carefully to instructions? These small details can reveal a lot about player character. Yes, this year is especially important because the Cowboys have 2 third-round picks in the draft. Yes, that gives them big opportunity, but also big responsibility. Making the wrong decision could hurt the team for years. Making the right decision could change everything. Schottenheimer has said that he is more involved in draft process now than he was before. Last year, he mostly watched highlights. Now he is studying full game film. He is watching how people and players perform in real situations, not just their best moments. He is working closely with the team leadership, including Jerry Jones and his son Stephen Jones, as well as key staff members like Willie McCurry. Together, they are building what is called draft board, which is ranking players based on talent, potential, and fit with the team. That's good, of course. You have to give us comment. What can you say about this system of the draft board? One interesting thing about the Cowboys this year is how they handle the free agents. Free agents is when teams sign players who are not currently under contract. So, according to Schottenheimer, the Cowboys did a very good job during these periods, and they focused first on keeping their own players. One of the names he mentioned was George Pickens, showing how important he is to the team offense. Keeping key players helped maintain stability and chemistry in the team. But they also added new talent. One of the biggest additions is Rashan Gary, the powerful defensive player who has been impressive since his college days at Michigan. Schottenheimer spoke highly of him, saying he has always been a strong competitor. They also brought Jaren Thompson, a player known for his energy and intensity on the field. Another name is Kobe Durant, adding more strength to the defense. Because of these moves, the Cowboys feel more flexible going into the draft. They are not forced to pick a specific position. Instead, they can truly follow their strategy of selecting the best player available. This is what Josh Schottenheimer means by drafting natural and pure. When teams are desperate, they sometimes make mistakes. They might choose player too early just because they need that position. But the Cowboys want to avoid that. They want to stay patient and trust their evaluation. Still, coach admitted that the team is not perfect. There is still position that needs improvement. That is normal in football. No team is ever competent, and no team is. Oh, sorry. There is no. This is normal in football because there is no team is ever complete. There is always work to do. Yes, of course. You cannot go there and sit down and say that I'm satisfied by the signings, because you need to add some player in some positions. He also emphasized that building a team is a non-stop process, of course. It does not end after the draft. It does not stop during the season. It continues every single day of the year. Alongside Schottenheimer, defensive coordinator Christian Parker, the two have been spending a lot of time together discussing strategy and evaluating players. According to the Schottenheimer, they share a very similar vision of the football. Parker knows exactly what he wants in a player. He understands that every position is different. Not all players need to look the same. Some may have long arms, others short arms. Some may be fast, others stronger. What matters is how they fit into the system. This shared vision between the head coach and the defensive coordinator is very important. He helps to ensure that every decision the team makes is aligned with their overall plan. And another interesting part of the Cowboys' journey is their relationship with the college programs. For example, Schottenheimer has a strong connection with the Steve Sarkisian, the head coach of the Texas. Both are offensive-minded coach. And then they spend time talking and sharing ideas during pro day. This kind of the relationship helps Cowboys gain deeper insight into players. College coaches know their players very well, both on and off the field. The stop in Texas was especially meaningful because it is close to Dallas. It allows the team to stay connected to the local talent. Many players dream of playing for their hometown team, and that motivation can be powerful. As the draft approaches, the Cowboys continue their journey across the country. They are watching, of course. They are running and they're preparing. Every meeting, every workout, and every conversation adds another piece of the puzzle. For the fans, this is an exciting time. There is hope, there is anticipation, and there are many questions. Who will the Cowboys pick? Will these players become stars? Will this be the draft that changes the future of the team? For now, all we know is this: Cowboys are preparing carefully. They are trusting their process and they are determined to make the right choice. Because in the NFL, draft is not just an notification bell so as to be with us. The Dallas Cowboys are once again in spotlight, and this time the news is not what fans want to hear. The situation around George Pickens is becoming more complicated, more expensive, of course, and more stressful for the team. What once looked like a manageable contract situation is now turning into a major challenge that could shape the future of the Cowboys. For weeks, the Cowboys have been making small moves, trying to fix gaps in their roster. They have added the players here and there, especially at the cornerback position, which has been weak. These are not superstar signings, but rather experienced players meant to add depth. However, while the team is busy fixing small problems, a much bigger issue is growing quietly in backgrounds. That issue is George Pickens. At one point, silence around George Pickens' contract talks might have been seen as a good thing. No news sometimes means negotiation. No news sometimes means negotiations are going smoothly behind the scenes, but now that is no longer the case. The silence has turned into concern. The longer the Cowboys wait, the more expensive Pickens is becoming. Everything changed when Jackson Smith signed as a massive contract with the Seattle Seahawks. That deal was worth of the $168.8 million over 4 years. That means more than $42 million per year. This contract immediately reset the market for wide receivers across the league. Now, even though George Pickens may not be rated exactly at the same level as Smith, his value has increased significantly. Experts now believe that George Pickens could earn well over $30 million per year on long-term deal. The Cowboys had already placed a franchise tag on Pickens. This is a one-year contract worth of about $27.3 million. The franchise tag is often used as a temporary solution, giving teams more time to negotiate a long-term agreement. However, there is a deadline. If no deal is reached by July 15, then Pickens will either have to play on other one-year deal or refuse to play. And that is where things get dangerous. There is growing belief that Pickens might choose not to play under franchise tag. This situation is known as holdout, where a player skips games or training in order to pressure the team into offering the better contract. If that happens, the Cowboys could lose one of their most important offensive weapons, at least temporarily. What makes this situation even more frustrating for the Dallas fans is timing. If the Cowboys had signed Pickens to a long-term deal early, it would have been much cheaper. But delay have cost them. This has been a pattern under owner Jerry Jones, who often waits before finalizing big contracts. And the market is not done rising. Another wide receiver, Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams, is expected to receive a new contract soon. When that happens, the price for wide receivers could increase even more. That means George Pickens' value might go even higher, making it even harder for Cowboys to keep him. Of course, while all of this is happening, there have been no clear reports that seriously long-term discussions between Pickens and Cowboys have started. That lack of the progress is worrying. At the same time, the Cowboys are trying to strengthen their defense. They recently signed Delion